What are some of the boldest takes that you have for the National Football League? This is not just specific to the upcoming season as we are deep into the offseason, and you're not going to find OTA news around here. I could not care less about a fade route that wasn't even guarded by any defender that looked really pretty. Most quarterbacks can make that throw. So I'm not going to be sitting here talking about that with you guys. But what we will be doing is just, as I work on some longer form videos and building out some more prediction videos as we're deep into the offseason, like I said, we're going to talk about some bold takes. And so what these are coming from, at least for the first couple episodes, is going to be with the Flag on the Play Discord. My buddy Trent, he runs the Flag on the Play show on his own channel, but I'll link that Discord down below. If you want to talk anything sports and talk football specifically with us or be in the next video, go ahead and join that. It's a real good time, and that's where we end up talking when I'm not editing videos or working. That's where we like to watch film and review potential opinions and debates, and there's some fiery ones. People crash out all the time in that Discord, so go ahead and check it out if that's something that you are interested in. And you might notice we have a new audio setup. I'm testing out this new microphone. I don't know how I feel about it. It's a wireless one. I want to be able to move around a little bit more. I have some projects in mind that I just don't want to be sitting at the desk every single video. I want to mix things up and get a little bit more creative. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Is the quality getting better? Because I'm just trying to get better at this whole video thing and get better for the channel because I really care about Rush the Field. So if you are new here, just give me a shot, man. I love talking football with you guys, whether that's a like, a comment, a subscribe, anything would mean the world to me. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Let me know how I'm doing. Thank you for giving me another chance. And let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to be reading these off of my phone. I took a bunch of screenshots from some of the Discord chats, and my buddy Sprite gave us a ton of them. And so what we're going to do is do a 1 to 10 scale. It's rare that you're ever going to find like below than 5 because these are supposed to be hot takes. They're going to be based off of how I feel about them. So if you disagree with a rating, let me know down in the comments on why you feel that it's either way too hot of a take or it's just objectively a good opinion to have. But the first one is Tay Adams is better than Marvin Harrison. I think people do need to have a conversation with Davante Adams as an all-time wide receiver, and he is in that conversation as a top 10 wide receiver. He was one of the most dominant route runners of his era. He helped Aaron Rodgers get to multiple MVPs. I understand having a good quarterback or great quarterback can really impact how good a wide receiver is. And as good as Marvin Harrison is with the Peyton Manning years, and I'm not trying to discredit it, it is a conversation between the two. And if you value skill set and at the peak of their powers, Tay Adams has a very good argument. I think he is arguably a better route runner than a guy like Marvin Harrison. And that's saying something because if you look at any all-time list when it comes to that specific skill, Marvin Harrison is like top 5 all-time, locked in every single ranking. But that's just how high I think of Tay Adams when it comes to those all-time rankings. I don't think this is that crazy of a hot take to think. And to be honest, I would rate it at a 7. But that's just because I see the vision. I think Tay Adams' hands has grown so much over the years to a point where he was the best wide receiver in the league. And for good reason. I think it's a real argument on whether you prefer Marvin Harrison or if you prefer Tay Adams. It's neither of them clear each other. The next take we have is Kelsey is closer to Antonio Gates than he is to George Kittle. Now, I think this is all dependent on how you prefer your tight end in an all-time ranking. If you have Gronk all-time because he's one of the best blockers and one of the best receiving tight ends, you have to value George Kittle a lot. I fully understand Kittle has had some ups and downs when it comes to the injury history, but when he has played, he has been one of the best tight ends in both aspects in the entire league. He's the best blocking tight end right now outside of like Darnell Washington, if you really want to like talk specialists. And he's one of the best receiving tight ends of all time. And so if you want to value both ends, you kind of have to have George Kittle as a potential top 5 all-time tight end, unless you're really just valuing statistical numbers. Because if you want to value the receiving and that's the main thing you're going to look at, I fully understand. Cool. That's your own prerogative. But you might have to have an argument about, is Gronk the best receiving tight end of all time? Because if you're going to value it so much, you can look at like Antonio Gates or, maybe Tony Gonzalez. Like you start going down a rabbit hole and having to die on some hills. And I think it's a hot take just because I don't want to disrespect Kelsey at the peak of his powers. He was still one of the best tight ends of all time. And I wouldn't say he's closer to Antonio Gates than he is to George Kittle because I don't think it's that big of a gap when we're talking about all-time tight ends because Kelsey was just that incredible at times. So I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10 on like the boldness scale, but I see where they're coming from. And I think it's honestly, people just need to realize that George Kittle is in these all-time conversations because of his skill set. The next bold take I looked at was Joe Burrow has never been better than Josh Allen. Now, we're only talking NFLs because obviously college, Joe Burrow wipes every single time. But I don't think this is that crazy of a hot take, to be honest. If we just go year by year, as much as I love Joe Burrow, and it sucks that he has had 2 seasons just ruined to injury. And there is some concerns that every single year it feels like that Joe Burrow and the Bengals start off so slow. And it doesn't feel good knowing that this year was seemingly like the worst start that they've had. And then he gets injured and it felt like they were finally getting things together. And the injury happens and the Bengals not really spiral out because you had Jake Browning having some really cool moments. I think people forget about that. But I honestly think I just hold Josh Allen that high. I think the talent is just that much of a gap. And on top of that, I'm not going to ignore the rushing ability. It's just another dynamic that Josh Allen brings to the table. I think he's closer to like Patrick Mahomes than he is to Joe Burrow. And to be honest, I am not going to hear another argument unless you're going to say wins are a quarterback stat, which I completely disagree with. I don't see an argument for any reason to have Joe Burrow as the second best quarterback in the league because of how dynamic Josh Allen is. If you really want to hold those turnovers against him, I guess, but you also get the ceiling of Josh Allen, which is damn near on the same level of Patrick Mahomes. The next hot take comes from Trent, and he talked about Aaron Rodgers. And I think that the parlay lifestyle is the devil. It is the scariest thing you can do because not making one prediction, but 2 can just triple your odds. And he made the prediction that Aaron Rodgers is not only going to win MVP coming off a torn Achilles and being 40 years of age, but he's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. And I don't remember a time that a player has won both. It could have been Adrian Peterson coming off the torn ACL, winning MVP. I don't know if he won Comeback Player of the Year or if that award even existed at the time. But this is a 8.5, 8.75 on the boldness scale. I could see the vision. I mean, he's in a New York market, a really good roster. There is a path for him to win MVP, but I think the competition around him kind of holds him back from this not being a super hot take because you have guys like Jalen Hurts who now have Saquon. You have Patrick Mahomes, who just exists. Josh Allen has a road to win an MVP if because of his situation being worse and he plays at the same level without Stephon Diggs, there's that vision of winning an MVP. You have Joe Burrow coming back. Like, you see where I'm coming from, where it's just a very much crowded room. And even Joe Burrow coming back off of injury, if he plays really well, he could win Comeback Player of the Year. So the fact that you think he could win 2 awards, it makes it even bolder. That's why I have it as an 8.5 on the boldness scale, but I could see the vision. The next hot take we have is, I don't know if it will be his fault or not, but Justin Herbert will never win a ring. Man, this one hurts because I have Justin Herbert as the 3rd best quarterback in the NFL, and it breaks my heart to say this, but I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10. If they didn't have Jim Harbaugh, who I just believe that he could turn everything into gold, I would say that it's more than like a 7 if they still had Brandon Staley, but it's so early into his career. So I'm going to say this is actually a 9.5 on the boldness scale. There's so much road to go. I fully understand it's the Chargers, they're cursed, they're the Clippers of the NFL, and there's a long road for them to even be in a Super Bowl like title position. You live in an area with Patrick Mahomes and a loaded AFC, but it's just too early for me to say definitively that he could not win a Super Bowl. And maybe he does it when he's like 35. Who knows? I fully believe in Justin Herbert and the talent that he is. But if this was like 2-3 years from now and the Jim Harbaugh thing doesn't work, I would say this is like an 8 to a 7 on the boldness scale. But it's just too early for me to say he's not going to win a Super Bowl. We got another hot take. The Jets go to the AFC Championship game. I think this is like a 7 to maybe even a 6. I could see this happening very much. Like, I think Aaron Rodgers, if things click, as scary it is with the Jets and the injury history with Mike Williams, the offensive line, Aaron Rodgers, all the things involved, playing at MetLife. But if just, at least 75% of the questions are answered in a positive way with this team, the AFC Championship is like very feasible for this team. They could make a Super Bowl run. They have Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. Like, I could run through the laundry list of reasons why to have hope with this team outside the fact that, you know, they have an incredible defense, and now they finally have a quarterback that's just capable. It's the same logic that you could put with LSU. If they just had a good defense last year, they were a top 4 team. If the Jets just had a capable offense or a good quarterback, they could be like one of the best teams in the league because they have one of the best rosters. I still have concerns about the Jets. I wouldn't predict them to be in the AFC Championship, but outside of the Chiefs, you have a laundry list of teams that could make it. You have the Texans. Who knows? The Ravens go back. The Bengals could come back. Like, I could go through damn near every single AFC team, but if you want to say the Jets can't be on that list, I would really be curious why, because I could see the vision that they make the AFC Championship pretty easily. Now, it would be a lot bolder if you said that they made the Super Bowl. Another hot take that we have is Jordan Love is getting gas for choking in the fourth quarter. He's good, but a long ways away from being top 10. I'm going to say on the boldness scale, this is about an 8, just for a couple of reasons. And I wouldn't even say an 8, maybe closer to like a 7, because the top 10 for quarterbacks, when you get to like 8 and beyond, like 8 through 13, it is a laundry list of quarterbacks that could fit the bill. You have Kyler, Dak. I mean, some people would have Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Goff, Jordan Love. Like, that's the list that you start getting into. And a lot of people are going to prefer Jordan Love because he's a young quarterback. They see the trajectory and they want to feel like, hey, if I launch this guy high into these rankings and he continues to go like this, say he has an MVP-like season, they can look back and say, hey, I told you guys, like, I was right. And it's a lot easier to do that with a younger quarterback versus older guys because you feel like their trajectory is just going to continue to go down while the young guy can only skyrocket. People got burned by this when we talked about like Trevor Lawrence. They put him into the top 7 rankings and then they were like, hey, he's only going to get better from here. He's going to finally meet these expectations. But then he had a dip or like a slump. And now people are trying to overcorrect. And I think there's a lot of different areas for Jordan Love, but I would say long ways away from top 10. That's kind of pushing it. If you want to see more of him, I fully understand. I'm one that's going to take the upside and what have you done for me lately? Some people may disagree with that logic. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, but because there's so many guys in that tier, and I'm also taking the upside, it's a wishy-washy conversation. I just would rather ask, what do you value in your top 10 list, and ask for consistency. And if you're inconsistent with Jordan Love, that's where I have some problems. But with that being said, if you want to be in the next hot takes or bold takes, whatever you want to call it video, go ahead and join that Discord. But like I said, if you are new here, just give me a shot, man. I love talking football with you guys. And if you're returning, welcome back. Stay a while, get comfortable. And I will say we are doing a college football version of this very soon. I'm excited for it. I'm going to need some more takes. So go ahead, join, drop them down below, and I will see you guys next time.